Have you ever looked into her eyes and felt something ancient? Like a storm you couldn't name. Not fear, not desire, but something in between. Something sweet enough to lower your guard, but powerful enough to wreck you without warning. This isn't poetry. This is reality dressed in perfume. It's not about hating her, fearing her, or worshiping her. It's about understanding her. There is a kind of knowledge that modern men have abandoned, not because it's false, but because it costs too much. Socrates didn't avoid this knowledge. He walked straight into it, and what he found wasn't a condemnation of women. It was a map, a way to navigate the mystery without sinking in it. He didn't speak with bitterness. He spoke with fire. He said that while men are forged in clarity, women are wrapped in layers of smoke. He wasn't trying to degrade anyone. He was trying to wake us up. Because if something is veiled, you cannot trust it blindly. And if something enchants you, you better understand how it works before it eats you alive. But the men of Athens laughed at him. They called him mad, dangerous. They killed him for daring to ask questions. And yet Socrates smiled, because he knew the truth. A man who only sees a woman for how she looks, her form, her charm, her touch, but doesn't understand how she operates, is like a soldier mesmerized by a shiny sword, just before it slices through him. That's why Socrates taught in questions. So let me ask you, why does her affection feel strategic? Why does her silence say more than her words? Why does she crave power, but not openly? If you never ask, you'll never see. And if you don't see, you'll kneel, not out of devotion, but delusion. Socrates described the just soul as one ruled by reason, not by appetite or impulse. But what happens when a man builds his entire identity around a woman whose nature he doesn't understand? He's not building a life. He's building a shrine to confusion. He warned of the tyrant soul, driven by desire, never at peace, always thirsty. How many men today are like that? Wearing the mask of logic, of confidence, but behind it, everything they do, every goal, every move, is to win a woman's approval. Not for legacy, not for mission, for applause. And what happens when she leaves? The whole thing collapses. But hear this clearly. Socrates wasn't warning you about her. He was warning you about yourself. She's not your enemy. She's not your savior. She's the test. And if you don't understand her nature, if you don't study it, you'll fail. Not because she's evil, because nature doesn't care. The river doesn't hate the rock it erodes. The woman doesn't hate the man she outmaneuvers. She's simply acting according to what she is. The real question is, are you acting according to what you are? Too many men today are asleep. They chase beauty like moths chase light. They forget the lesson. Beauty is the bait. The real power is behind it. You fall in love with her softness, her attention, her affection. But you don't study her pattern. You don't ask what's underneath. And when you fall, you expect her to catch you. But she doesn't. Not because she's heartless, because she wasn't made to. She selects. She tests. She adapts. But she doesn't build. That's your job. That's your burden and your crown. Socrates said the unexamined life isn't worth living, but the unexamined desire, that's even more dangerous. And nowhere is desire more camouflaged than in the realm of women. Desire wears a mask. It sings like truth. It whispers like fate, but it's driven by something deeper. Instinct, selection, survival. You call it love. She calls it timing. In Phaedrus, Socrates said love, when it isn't governed by reason, becomes madness. Divine, maybe, but still madness. He compared the soul to a wingless creature crawling in circles, obsessed with the source of its appetite. How many men live in that circle right now? How many have traded their values, their vision, their dignity? For what? A fleeting glance? A warm body? You weren't made to be devoured by the feminine. You were made to understand it. She doesn't seek truth the way you do. She seeks alignment, security, status, stability. That's not a weakness. That's brilliance. That's survival. But if you don't see it, if you romanticize it, if you put her above your mission, she will test you until you fall. And when you fall, she won't weep. Not because she's cruel, because she's reading the truth you revealed. Your soul is for sale. Socrates believed the soul had 3 parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. And a man must be ruled by reason. That's the peak. That's where clarity lives. But when appetite leads, sexual, emotional, social, when that takes the wheel, the man dissolves. He becomes noise. He stops leading. He follows, not her, but his hunger for her. You've seen these men. Men who have no light unless she gives it to them. Men who kneel before her moods, her wants, her whims, without ever asking what altar they're kneeling at. Men who abandon their mission just to keep her warm. You might be one of them, or you might be on your way. That's why Socrates mattered. He wasn't loud. He was precise. While the world confused charm for truth, beauty for virtue, noise for wisdom, he saw through it, and they killed him for it. But his voice still speaks, not to the crowd, but to you. Because he knew the real trap wasn't her. It was you losing yourself for her. He saw that women are more attuned to the now, to emotion, to safety. They feel the present deeply. But men? Men ache for the future. You think in legacies. You're wired for vision. And vision, brother, comes at a cost. And the feminine offers a tempting bargain. Forget the burden. Trade it for comfort, warmth, the illusion of peace. But that peace, it's counterfeit. Your real peace only comes from clarity, not her agreement, not her approval, your clarity. And she will test it. She'll test your focus, your frame, your conviction. She will reflect your uncertainty right back at you with terrifying accuracy. And if you haven't mastered yourself, if you haven't studied your own soul, she will master you. Not with anger, with instinct, because she is designed that way. And you must be designed for this, for clarity, for purpose, for endurance. Socrates didn't teach hate. He taught illumination. Not to fear what confuses you, but to see it clearly. So see her. Not with suspicion, with understanding. She is not your anchor. She is the tide. And if you confuse those two, you will drift. You must become a philosopher of your own instincts. You must ask, what do I long for? Why do I ache for her? What am I truly hoping she'll give me? Because your downfall won't come from a blade or a law. It will come from the part of you that you refuse to examine. And that part, your craving for her mystery, her approval, her softness, will enslave you if you don't face it. That's the real tragedy of men today. Not that they need women, but that they don't know why they need them. And in their blindness, they make her a god. And when she fails to perform miracles, they blame her. But she was never meant to complete you. She was meant to test you. In Gorgias, Socrates dismantles the idea that pleasure equals good, that what feels right is right. He tears it apart. He shows us the truth. Chasing her approval isn't noble. It's a symptom of lost purpose, forgotten mission, misaligned soul. You think you need her eyes on you, but what you really need, what you're dying for, is for your soul to stand on its own in the dark. Men today aren't collapsing from weakness. They're collapsing from confusion, from inner chaos. They can read her moods, but not their own values. They know the scripts that make her smile, but forget the truths they once promised themselves. You call that romance? She calls it weakness. And she's right. She cannot love what she does not respect, and she cannot respect what she can manipulate. That's the hidden rule Socrates never said outright, but lived fully. Harmony isn't sameness, it's order, it's rightness, and she doesn't want to lead you. She wants to feel safe under your direction. But when you give that up, when you make her feelings your compass, her attention your mirror, her affection your prize, you stop being a man. You become a satellite. She might keep you around, but only because it's convenient. And one day, convenience ends. The world is full of men who tried to win her love by worshiping her. But love isn't won through worship. It's earned through sovereignty. In Meno, Socrates questions whether virtue can be taught. But more importantly, he wonders, do men even recognize it anymore? That question echoes now louder than ever. Do you know what masculine virtue looks like? Before you offer it to her, do you even have it? Or have you confused obedience for love, lust for loyalty, and weakness for kindness? She doesn't want you broken. She doesn't want you needy. She doesn't even want you nice. She wants you real. And the real man? He doesn't orbit the feminine. He orbits truth, justice, the good. And only then does he invite her to walk beside him. Not to lead, not to follow blindly, but to move in rhythm with that higher orbit. And when she sees that you live by principle, not persuasion, when she sees you speak with restraint, lead with clarity, love without losing yourself, she will follow. Not because you demanded it, because you earned it. This is the paradox Socrates understood. Power doesn't come from chasing it. It comes from becoming the kind of man who no longer needs it from anyone, especially not from her. The moment you stop seeking her favor and start seeking your form, not your body, but the shape of your essence, you become untouchable. Not because you are hard, but because you are whole. Wholeness is the forgotten wealth of man. The temples of ancient Athens weren't built for comfort. They were built for virtue, measured in trials, carved in silence, whispered into the hearts of men by voices like Socrates. Know thyself. Not please her, not serve her, not become what she wants. Know, because in knowing there is power, and in power there is peace. But most men today, they're not at peace. They're at war. Not with her, with the lie they've swallowed, that her love will complete them, that her body will soothe their soul, that her smile can replace their lost selfhood. That's not love. That's intoxication. And every philosopher knows the drunk cannot see the truth. Socrates spoke of forms, the ideal patterns behind every shadow we see. There is a form of womanhood, just as there is a form of manhood. But modern men, they don't chase the form. They chase the shadow, the curves, the glance, the perfume, the perfect pose. And they forget to ask, what does this form serve? What does it protect? What does it consume? She is not evil. She is efficient. She is not deceptive. She is adaptive. She is not broken. She is designed for survival, not yours. Heron. Her instincts are faster than your affections, sharper than your fantasies. She sees what you don't, your weakness. Socrates never said this in plain words, but it's in the architecture of his thought. You are either ruled by reason or ruled by desire. There is no third kingdom. The man who chases her without a map doesn't find freedom. He gets lost. Smiling maybe, but drowning. And then he blames her for the undertow he never trained to survive. But the man who has trained, who knows himself, who has stared his longing in the face and unmasked it, that man does not drown. He sails. She will respect him, not because he dominates, but because he's clear. In Symposium, Socrates tells us about Diotima, a woman who taught him that love isn't about pleasure. It's a ladder, from one body to all beauty, to wisdom, to the divine. But most men, they never climb. They cling to the first rung, rot in the pit of pleasure, and never ask where it was supposed to lead. But you must climb. She is the gate, not the kingdom. She is the wind. You must be the sail. Your strength isn't in overpowering her. It's in no longer needing her to define you. Let her be mystery. Let her be paradox. Let her be woman. But you be man. Measured, examined, enduring. Not shaken by flattery. Not broken by rejection. Not distracted by the glitter of what fades. That's your dignity. And dignity, it isn't given. It's forged. In silence. In solitude. In the cold nights when no one is watching and no one is coming to save you. That's where Socrates would tell you to build. Not in her arms, not in her approval, in your own unshakable inner court. The man who needs her warmth to feel whole has no fire of his own. The man who breaks his will to preserve her affection will eventually break altogether. And she won't pick up the pieces, not out of cruelty, out of nature, because she too is looking for a man who doesn't need her, but chooses her, with full awareness of what she is and what she is not. She is not your therapist. She is not your savior. She is not the mirror to measure your worth. You want her to see you? Then stand where men rarely stand, in stillness, in discipline, in mastery, with no need to be seen. Socrates said, "The shortest and surest way to live with honor is to be in reality what we would appear to be. And every man wants to appear strong, wise, respected. But how many are willing to become that? Don't chase her attention. Cultivate presence. Don't chase her body. Master your appetites. Don't chase her love. Offer your truth and let her respond as she will. That's the examined life. Not just thoughts, but motives. Not just posture, but soul. Because the real test? It's when she withdraws. That's the arena. And that's where most men fall. But not you. You stand. You hold. You choose clarity over chaos. You don't blame her. You study her. She's not the storm, she's the weather. You're the mast. That's manhood. Not control, not conquest. Orientation. So to you, the man listening in silence, aching for something real, I say this: rise. Rise without rage. Rise without apology. Rise not against her, but for yourself. Don't run from her tests. Meet them. Don't fear her fire. Match it. And when you do, the illusions die. The soul ascends. And you become the kind of man she doesn't conquer. She aligns with him, because in the end, she's not looking for control. She's looking for certainty. And when you become the man who cannot be shaken, she feels it. Not in fear, in awe.